The whole Sunday brunch thing wasn't even my idea. Natalie insisted we meet up with her closest friends at this waterfront restaurant called Riverside Terrace. She said it would be nice for everyone to catch up before the wedding chaos really kicked in. The place had floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the water, white tablecloths on every surface, and the kind of menu where you're paying double for the view. I showed up exactly on time. Natalie was already there with 5 of her friends, all dressed like they were shooting content for a lifestyle blog. Mimosas were flowing freely. The table was covered with plates of eggs, Benedict, and avocado toast. The conversation started light enough. Wedding venues, honeymoon destinations, someone's recent promotion at work. Pretty standard stuff for a pre-wedding gathering. I was about halfway through my coffee when Natalie cleared her throat really loudly. The kind that's designed to grab everyone's attention. The entire table went silent. She looked directly at me, then slowly around the table at each of her friends. Her expression wasn't sad or conflicted. It was almost theatrical, like an actress about to deliver her big moment. "I need to say something," she announced, her voice carrying across our entire section of the restaurant. "I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I can't keep pretending." I set my coffee cup down. A few nearby tables glanced over. "I'm officially calling off the wedding." She paused for maximum effect, making absolutely sure every eye was locked on her. "I don't love you anymore." Her friends gasped right on cue. 2 of them looked genuinely shocked, their faces showing real surprise. The other 3 exchanged these quick glances that told me everything I needed to know. They already knew this was coming. This wasn't news to them. This whole thing was a staged performance. The restaurant felt quieter somehow, like the air had changed. I could hear silverware clinking at distant tables, the low hum of other people's conversations continuing, like absolutely nothing dramatic had just happened at our booth. I took a breath, looked at her calmly, then at the engagement ring on her finger. The one I'd saved up 6 months to buy, working extra hours and skipping things I wanted. "Thank you for your honesty," I said, keeping my voice completely calm and even. That caught her completely off guard. She blinked twice, then again, like she was waiting for something more. Tears maybe, anger, begging, something dramatic to match her theatrical announcement. I stood up slowly and deliberately, reached across the table and held out my hand toward her. "I'll take the ring back." Her mouth opened slightly. She glanced quickly at her friends, looking for some kind of signal or support. One of them, this blonde woman wearing designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, gave her an encouraging nod, like this was all proceeding exactly according to whatever plan they'd discussed. Natalie slid the ring off her finger and dropped it into my open palm. $3,000 returned in front of a live audience. I pocketed it without looking at it again or showing any emotion. "Well," I said, speaking loud enough for everyone at the table to hear clearly, "since we're making big public announcements here, I should let everyone know I'll be hosting a dodged a bullet party instead of a wedding." 2 of her friends laughed nervously, unsure how to react. Natalie forced a smile onto her face, playing along like this was all friendly and mature and amicable. Then I added the part I'd been holding back, the part I knew would land. "Oh, and Natalie, since your parents covered this brunch and paid for half of all the wedding deposits, you should probably be the one to explain to them why everything's being canceled." The nervous laughter stopped immediately, like someone had flipped a switch. Her face went completely pale. The friend with the designer sunglasses suddenly became very interested in her plate. Another one grabbed her phone like it was the most fascinating object in the world. "Wait, what?" Natalie's voice lost all of its theatrical edge. "You can't just—" "I'm not doing anything," I interrupted, keeping my tone perfectly even and calm. "You made your choice publicly, in front of all these people. Now you get to own it, also publicly." I pulled 2 20s from my wallet and set them on the table. That more than covered my coffee and eggs. Nobody said a single word as I walked out. No goodbyes, no dramatic exit lines, no scene. Just a calm, dignified departure from a situation that could have absolutely destroyed me if I'd let it. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car in the parking lot. Text after text lighting up the screen. Natalie, her friends, even her cousin who wasn't at the brunch. All of them asking me to wait, to come back, to talk this through like adults. I silenced all the notifications and drove home. The apartment felt different when I walked in. Quieter than usual, but not in a bad way. I made another pot of coffee, sat down at my desk, and opened my laptop. Time to handle business. First order of business was canceling the venue deposit. It was under my name and charged to my credit card. I called them up and canceled it. Done. Next was the photographer. Also my booking. Also my payment. Canceled. Then the caterer. Canceled. The DJ canceled. The rental company for all the chairs and tables. Canceled. All my arrangements, every single one, canceled within about an hour. My phone kept buzzing constantly throughout all of this. 12 missed calls from Natalie by the time I was done. 6 from her friend Bridget, 3 from numbers I didn't even recognize. I called my parents instead of dealing with any of that. Hey, Mom. Honey, what's wrong? You sound off. Wedding's off. She called it off at brunch this morning, in front of all her friends, told me she doesn't love me anymore. Dead silence on the other end of the line for a moment. Then my dad's voice in the background asking what the hell happened. Mom put me on speakers so they could both hear. I explained the whole thing, keeping it factual and straightforward. The public announcement, returning the ring, my comment about the dodged bullet party, the reminder about her parents' money. My dad actually laughed, like genuinely laughed out loud. Good, I never trusted her. Robert, my mom scolded him, but I could hear she was fighting a smile herself. He's right though, sweetheart, she continued. We didn't want to say anything while you two were together, but we always felt like she was performing. Like she wanted the wedding itself, more than she wanted the actual marriage. Yeah, I said. I'm starting to see that pretty clearly now. We talked for another 20 minutes. They asked if I was okay, if I needed anything, if I wanted to come over. I told them the complete truth. I felt fine, surprisingly fine, maybe even relieved, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. After we hung up, I looked at my phone again. 43 unread messages now. I scrolled through a few of them just to see what was being said. Natalie, we need to talk. This isn't how I wanted things to go. Bridget, she's really upset right now. Can you please just hear her out? And no number. This is Vanessa, Natalie's sister. You need to call me. I set the phone face down on my desk and opened a new browser tab. Searched for how to get the best price when selling a diamond engagement ring. Might as well turn that $3,000 back into something actually useful. The dodged bullet party was definitely happening. Not as some kind of joke, not out of spite or revenge, but because sometimes you need to mark the moment when your life took a turn for the better, even if you didn't see it coming at the time. Monday morning, I woke up to 17 new messages on my phone. Ignored every single one of them. Got dressed for work like normal, grabbed breakfast, headed out like it was any other regular day. Because it basically was any other day. The only real difference was I wasn't engaged anymore. At the office, my coworker Terrence noticed something was different about me. You seem lighter today, he said, leaning against my cubicle wall. Did something happen over the weekend? Wedding's canceled, I told him, not even looking up from my computer screen. What? When did that happen? Yesterday morning, she called it off at brunch. Said she doesn't love me anymore. Terrence just stood there for a moment, clearly processing what I'd just said. And you're here at work right now? On time? Where else would I be? He laughed, shaking his head in disbelief. Man, most guys would be calling in sick for a week, drinking themselves stupid, or blowing up her phone with messages. You're just sitting here filling out spreadsheets like nothing happened. She made her choice, I said simply. I'm making mine. That seemed to satisfy his curiosity. He patted my shoulder and went back to his own desk. Word spread through the office pretty quickly. By lunchtime, a few different people had come by to offer their condolences. I thanked them politely and just kept working. My phone buzzed during my lunch break. Natalie's mother calling. I let it go straight to voicemail, then listened to the message afterward. We need to talk about what happened yesterday. Natalie is very upset and confused right now. Please call me back so we can sort this out like adults. I deleted the voicemail. 10 minutes later, another voicemail came through. This time from Natalie's father. His tone was completely different. Much sharper and more aggressive. I just got off the phone with the venue. They told me you canceled everything. I need you to call me immediately. We have contracts we need to discuss. I saved that one just in case I needed it later. Around 3 in the afternoon, my phone rang with a number I actually wanted to answer. My buddy Kingston, who I'd known since high school. Dude, I just heard what happened. Bridget texted me asking if I could talk some sense into you, and what the hell went down? I gave him the short version of events. The brunch, the public announcement, taking the ring back, my comment about her parents having to foot the bill now. Kingston was quiet for just a second, then burst out laughing. You actually said that? In front of everyone? Every single word. That's brutal. I love it. So, what's your plan now? Now, nothing special. She wanted out, so she's out. I'm throwing a party in 2 weeks, though. You coming? A party for what? The dodged a bullet party I mentioned at the brunch. Figured I should actually follow through on it. More laughter from Kingston's end of the phone. Absolutely. I'm there and I'll bring the good whiskey. This is going to be legendary. After work ended, I stopped by a jewelry shop I'd researched online earlier. Older guy, been in the business for 30 years, according to the sign. He examined the ring carefully under a special light and asked me a few questions about where I'd originally bought it, then made me an offer. $2,200. Not the full $3,000 I'd paid, but close enough for me. I took the offer without negotiating. Walking out of that jewelry shop felt like officially closing a chapter of my life. The ring was gone, converted back into actual cash I could use for something worthwhile. Maybe a trip somewhere. Maybe new furniture for the apartment. Maybe just peace of mind knowing I wasn't tied to that anymore. When I got home that evening, I finally looked at my phone properly and went through everything. 68 messages total now. Most from Natalie, several from her various friends, one from her sister Vanessa that just said, "Call me seriously?" I opened up Natalie's messages and scrolled through the whole thread. "Please, just talk to me. This isn't what I wanted to happen. You're being incredibly immature about this. My parents are absolutely furious with me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Fine, just ignore me then. But we're going to have to talk about this eventually." I blocked her number right then. Then I blocked Bridget's number and the 3 unknown numbers that had been texting me all day. My phone immediately felt lighter in my hand. That evening, Kingston called me again with some interesting information. "So, Bridget just tried really hard to get me to convince you to talk to Natalie. She said Natalie is completely devastated and didn't mean for things to go the way they did. How exactly did she think it would go?" I asked. "Honestly, Bridget let something slip during our conversation. She said Natalie thought you'd be really upset, maybe even cry in front of everyone, and that it would prove how much you actually cared about her. Like some kind of test or validation thing." I sat down on my couch, processing what he'd just told me. So she publicly humiliated me as a test? To see how I'd react? Sounds exactly like that. Bridget realized she'd said too much and tried to backtrack hard. But yeah, that's definitely the vibe I got. Natalie wanted a big emotional reaction from you. She got one, just not the one she was expecting or hoping for. Kingston paused for a moment. Bridget also mentioned something about another guy. Someone Natalie met a few weeks ago. Apparently he's part of the reason she was feeling so conflicted about everything. And there it was, the other piece of the puzzle I'd been missing. "So she basically lined up a replacement before she even ended things with me," I said. "Yeah, pretty much. From what Bridget told me, this guy is supposedly some finance type. Drives an expensive car, takes her to fancy restaurants, real smooth operator type. Good for them then." "You're taking all of this surprisingly well," Kingston observed. "Most people would be completely falling apart right now. Because I genuinely dodged a bullet here. If she'd waited until after the wedding to do this, we'd be dealing with a divorce, lawyers, splitting up assets, all that messy legal stuff. Instead, she showed me exactly who she really is before I made a permanent legal commitment. Honestly, I should probably send her a thank you card." Kingston laughed again. "You're a different breed, man. Most people would be absolutely destroyed." Maybe they would. But falling apart over someone who'd carefully planned out my public humiliation seemed like a complete waste of energy to me. After hanging up with Kingston, I opened my laptop and started actually planning out this party. Nothing fancy or elaborate, just my apartment, some good food, decent drinks, and people who actually gave a damn about me. No theatrics, no performances, no games. I created a group chat with all my close friends and sent out a simple, straightforward message. "Dodged a bullet party. 2 weeks from Saturday. My place, 7 p.m. Bring whatever you want. Let's celebrate good judgment." The responses came in fast. Laughing emojis, immediate confirmations, jokes about bringing targets for actual target practice. Everyone was absolutely in. My phone buzzed one more time that evening. A message from a number I didn't have saved, but I recognized the area code immediately. Natalie's parents. "We paid for half of that wedding. You will be hearing from our attorney about breach of contract and financial damages." I took a screenshot of the message, saved it to a folder on my phone, and typed back exactly one sentence. I didn't breach anything. Your daughter's the one who called off the wedding. You should take it up with her. Then I blocked that number too. The apartment was quiet again after that. Peacefully quiet. I made myself dinner, watched a show I'd been meaning to catch up on, and went to bed at a completely reasonable hour. No anxiety keeping me awake, no second guessing my decisions, no wondering if maybe I'd made the wrong call. Just a clean break from someone who genuinely thought love was supposed to be a stage production and I was supposed to play the heartbroken supporting character in her drama. Not anymore. 3 days after the brunch incident, I got a text message from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better instincts and judgment, I opened it. This is Lorelai. We met at the brunch on Sunday. I really need to talk to you about what happened. Can we meet for coffee? Lorelai. I remembered her clearly now. She was one of the two who'd looked genuinely shocked when Natalie made her big announcement. One of the two who obviously weren't in on whatever plan had been happening. I texted back, "Why would you need to talk to me?" "Because you deserve to know the actual truth about everything. And because I feel physically sick about being part of what happened." We agreed to meet at a coffee place downtown. Nothing fancy, just a local spot with decent coffee and enough distance from anywhere Natalie might potentially show up. Lorelai was already sitting there when I arrived, tucked into a corner booth, looking genuinely uncomfortable. I sat down across from her. "So what's this all about?" She didn't waste any time getting to the point. Natalie planned the entire thing. The brunch, the location, the announcement, all of it. She'd been actively talking about it in our group chat for almost 3 weeks before it happened. I took a sip of my coffee and stayed quiet, letting her continue. Lorelai pulled out her phone, scrolled through something for a moment, then turned the screen toward me. Screenshots of a group chat conversation. I read through them quickly. "Natalie, I think I'm going to do it at the brunch. Make it clean in public." "Bridget, that's so incredibly brave of you. It'll be like a scene from a movie." Another friend, someone named Isabel. "He's going to be completely devastated, but it's better to be honest with him." Natalie, "Exactly. And if he really loves me like he says, his reaction will prove it." I handed her phone back to her. "So she wanted me to have a complete breakdown?" "Yes," Lorelai said quietly, looking genuinely ashamed. "She told all of us she needed to see if you actually cared about her. Because you've been so calm and stable about everything related to the wedding. She said it felt like you weren't passionate enough about her or the relationship. So she decided the best approach was to publicly humiliate me in front of her friends to test my feelings." Lorelai nodded, looking absolutely miserable about the whole thing. "It gets worse, though. There's this guy, someone named Cameron. She met him at some networking event about a month ago. He's been taking her to really expensive places, sending flowers to her work, the whole elaborate routine. Very intense, very dramatic, everything you apparently aren't." I leaned back in my seat. "Let me take a guess. She thought I'd beg her to stay. Prove I could be just as intense and dramatic, and then she'd have her validation that I really cared. Something exactly like that. And if you didn't react with enough emotion, she'd feel completely justified in moving on to Cameron instead." Lorelai shook her head. I told her directly it was manipulative and wrong. So did another friend, Harper. But Bridget and the others just kept encouraging the whole thing, saying it was romantic and honest. "What's happening now?" I asked. "Now? Everything's completely falling apart for her. Cameron disappeared the very day after the brunch. Apparently, he wanted the excitement and fun of being the other guy, not an actual serious relationship. When he found out she'd really called off the wedding and was actually available, he just stopped returning any of her calls. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. And what about her parents? I asked. Absolutely furious with her. Her dad called her Sunday night after you'd canceled everything. They had this massive fight. He told her that if she made this decision, she's personally paying them back for their half of all the wedding costs. We're talking almost $15,000 total. $15,000? I was genuinely surprised by that number. Venue deposit, catering down payment, her dress alterations, flowers, all of it just kept adding up. And she doesn't actually have that kind of money saved anywhere. She's been living completely paycheck to paycheck, spending everything on clothes and brunches and keeping up appearances for social media. Now she's absolutely panicking because Cameron's gone, you're gone, and she owes this massive debt to her own parents. I finished my coffee. Why are you telling me all of this? Because what she did was wrong, Lorelai said firmly. I watched you handle that entire brunch situation with more dignity and class than she deserved. You didn't yell, didn't make any kind of scene, you just took your ring back and left. And I keep thinking about how she deliberately planned to hurt you just to get some kind of reaction. That's not what real friends do to each other. That's not what decent people do. So what happens now? I asked. Now, I'm completely done with that entire friend group. Harper feels exactly the same way. We're both out. Bridget and the others can keep playing their dramatic games if they want, but we want absolutely no part of it anymore. She paused. And I wanted you to know the complete truth, because you handled absolutely everything right. She's the one who messed up here, not you. We talked for another 20 minutes or so. Lorelai told me more about the overall group dynamic, how Bridget had always encouraged Natalie's worst impulses and behaviors, how the whole friend group had become increasingly toxic over the past year. She apologized multiple times for not speaking up sooner about the plan. I thanked her genuinely for meeting with me and for telling me the truth, and we parted ways on good terms. Driving home afterward, I thought about everything Lorelai had just revealed to me. The careful planning, the deliberate manipulation, the clear expectation that I'd perform like a heartbroken character in some romantic drama. The fact that she'd lined up Cameron as a backup option before she'd even ended things with me. My phone buzzed at a red light. A text message from Vanessa, Natalie's sister. I know you blocked Natalie. I honestly don't blame you. But she's asking if you'd be willing to talk to her. She says she made a huge mistake. I typed back quickly. She made her choice publicly in front of everyone. I'm just respecting that choice. We're done. Vanessa responded almost immediately. Fair enough. For what it's worth, I think you handled everything better than most people would have. Good luck with everything. That evening, I got another call, this time from the wedding venue. They wanted to confirm the cancellation was processed and mentioned that Natalie's parents had called them asking about possibly getting their deposit money back. The deposit is completely non-refundable, the woman on the phone explained to me. It's very clearly stated in the contract everyone signed. But since the cancellation came directly from the bride and not from you, we wanted to make absolutely sure you knew that any potential legal action wouldn't involve you at all. Understood. I really appreciate you letting me know. Another call came through later while I was making dinner. The photographer we'd booked. Hey, just wanted to check in with you. Your cancellation was completely clean on our end. But the bride's family called us asking if we'd still be willing to honor the original date for a different event entirely. I just wanted to give you a heads up in case they're trying to repurpose anything you two had planned together. I appreciate the heads up. Not my concern anymore, but thank you for letting me know. Everything was clearly unraveling on Natalie's end. The backup guy had vanished completely. Her parents wanted their money back and were furious with her. Her friend group was actively splitting up. And I was just here, living my normal life and planning a party with people who actually mattered to me. I pulled up the group chat for the dodged bullet party and added a new message. Update, party is definitely happening. Menu's going to be burgers and craft beer. Nothing fancy, just good company and even better judgment. The responses came in fast. Everyone was genuinely excited. A few people asked if they could bring other friends along. I said, absolutely yes. The more people celebrating, the merrier. My phone stayed completely quiet for the rest of that night. No block numbers trying to get through with new numbers. No drama, no manipulation attempts, no games. Just genuine peace. And this growing certainty that walking away from that brunch was legitimately the best decision I'd made in years. Natalie had wanted a big dramatic reaction from me. She got one. Just not the complete breakdown she'd carefully scripted and planned for. She got a man who knew his own worth and absolutely refused to play manipulative games. And that apparently was something she'd never actually planned for or expected. The week leading up to the party was surprisingly quiet and drama-free. Work kept me plenty busy. I hit the gym 3 or 4 times, caught up with friends I'd been neglecting during all the wedding planning chaos over the past months. Turns out I had a lot more free time when I wasn't constantly dealing with seating charts and endless vendor meetings. Thursday afternoon, Kingston called me with an update. You're not going to believe this. Bridget just posted this long thing on social media, all about how people should support their friends through difficult times and not abandon them when they make mistakes. It's super vague, but literally everyone who knows them knows she's talking about Natalie. Let me guess. The comments aren't going her way? Not even close. Someone in the comments asked what she was actually talking about, and Lorelai responded with the actual real story. Said Natalie planned a public humiliation and is now upset that it completely backfired on her. Bridget deleted the entire post like 20 minutes later. I couldn't help but smile at that. Lorelai's not messing around. She's been commenting on a few other posts too. Nothing mean or cruel, just completely factual. Stuff like, Natalie planned it and he handled it with class. Now she's dealing with the natural consequences. People are starting to figure out what actually went down. Friday morning, I got an email from an address I'd never seen before. The subject line just said, "Please read." Against my better judgment, I opened it anyway. It was from Natalie. A very long message about how she'd made a terrible mistake, how the past 2 weeks had been the absolute worst of her entire life, how she'd been confused and influenced by terrible advice from her friends. She said Cameron was a mistake. The public announcement was a mistake. All of it was a huge mistake. She asked if we could meet somewhere neutral just to talk, said she completely understood if I was angry with her, but hoped I'd at least hear her out one time. I read the entire email twice, then deleted it permanently. An hour later, my phone rang. Natalie's father calling. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "I owe you a genuine apology," he said immediately, no small talk. "I spoke with several different people this week. Got the full story about what actually happened at that brunch. My daughter planned that entire scene deliberately, and you handled it with significantly more maturity than I gave you credit for at the time." "Okay," I said simply. "I'm calling because I wanted you to know we're not pursuing any kind of legal action regarding the wedding costs anymore. That's between us and Natalie now. You canceled what was legitimately yours to cancel. Everything you did was completely legitimate. I appreciate you letting me know that." He was quiet for a moment. "For what it's worth, I think you made the right call walking away. Walking away from someone who treats you like that takes real strength. I wish I'd seen who she really was sooner." We ended the call on surprisingly decent terms. No drama, no threats of lawyers, just a father finally realizing his daughter had created her own complete mess. Saturday, 2 days before the party, I was at the grocery store picking up supplies when I literally ran into Harper, one of Lorelai's friends from the brunch. She had a shopping cart absolutely full of wine bottles. "For the party?" she asked, nodding at my cart full of burgers and beer. "Yeah, that's the plan. You coming?" "Lorelai and I both are, if that's still okay with you. We figured you might not want anyone from that friend group there at all." "You two are completely fine. You told the truth when it actually mattered. That counts for something real." Harper smiled at that. "Natalie is absolutely losing it, by the way. She somehow found out that we're going to your party and sent this incredibly long message about betrayal and loyalty and friendship. I told her loyalty has to go both ways and then blocked her number." "How's she handling everything else?" "Terribly. She's picking up extra shifts at work wherever she can, desperately trying to pay her parents back. Cameron hasn't contacted her even once since the day after the brunch. Bridget's still defending her, but even that's getting really strained because Bridget's own boyfriend asked her why she's supporting someone who deliberately manipulates people like that." I loaded another case of beer into my cart. "Sounds like natural consequences." "That's exactly what it is," Harper agreed. "And honestly, watching you just calmly move on and plan this party while she's completely spiraling has been genuinely eye-opening for a lot of people. You could have been bitter or vindictive about everything, but you're literally just living your life. That's actually powerful." We talked for a few more minutes, then went our separate ways to finish shopping. Sunday night, the evening before the party was scheduled, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. I looked through the peephole cautiously. Natalie was standing there. She was dressed in jeans and a hoodie, looking absolutely nothing like the polished, put-together version from the brunch. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup at all, eyes visibly red like she'd been crying recently. I opened the door, but deliberately didn't invite her inside. "What are you doing here, Natalie?" "I needed to see you in person," she said, her voice shaky. "I know you got my email. I know you're probably completely done with me, but I had to try one more time." "Try what exactly?" "To apologize for real, to explain everything, to see if there's any possible chance we could talk about maybe fixing this." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You stood up in front of all your friends and announced to everyone that you don't love me anymore. You planned that moment for weeks in advance. You had another guy already lined up and waiting. Now you want to fix things because that guy disappeared and you're drowning in debt to your own parents. That about sum it up accurately?" She visibly flinched. It's not like that. That's exactly what it's like, Natalie. You wanted a dramatic movie moment. You got one. But you expected me to completely fall apart so you could feel validated and important. When I didn't give you that reaction, your entire plan collapsed. I was confused, she said, her voice breaking with emotion. I didn't know what I actually wanted. You knew exactly what you wanted. You wanted attention and drama and validation and someone who'd chase after you desperately. I'm not that person. I never was that person. Tears started falling down her face. So that's it? You're just completely done? You won't even try? You ended this relationship, I reminded her calmly. I'm just respecting your decision. Tomorrow, I'm having a party to celebrate dodging a bullet. That bullet was a marriage to someone who thinks relationships are supposed to be performance art for an audience. I stepped back and closed the door firmly, locked it. I could hear her standing there on the other side for another minute or so before she finally left. My phone buzzed a few minutes later, a text from her number. I guess I deserve that. I'm sorry for everything that happened. I didn't respond to it, just set my phone down and went back to prepping food for tomorrow's party. The apartment looked good. Decorations were minimal but intentional. A banner that said "Dodged a Bullet" hung prominently over the living room. Music playlist was ready to go. Fridge was fully stocked with drinks. Tomorrow, a bunch of people who actually genuinely cared about me would show up to celebrate the fact that I'd avoided a complete disaster of a marriage. Not because I was bitter or vengeful or angry, but because sometimes the trash really does take itself out, and that's genuinely worth acknowledging and celebrating. I went to bed that night feeling more certain than I'd ever been that I'd made absolutely the right choice. Natalie had gotten the closure she came looking for when she showed up, just not the kind she'd wanted or expected. The party started at 7 o'clock sharp. By 7:30, my apartment was completely packed with people. Kingston showed up with the expensive whiskey he'd promised. Terrence brought his girlfriend. Lorelai and Harper arrived together, carrying wine and entertaining stories about Bridget's latest dramatic meltdown on social media. The vibe was absolutely perfect. Nothing fancy or elaborate, just people eating good burgers, drinking cold beer, and genuinely enjoying themselves and each other's company. A few coworkers I'd invited were laughing together in the kitchen. Some guys from my gym were having an intense debate about football in the living room. Everyone kept congratulating me on having the cleanest breakup they'd ever witnessed. Around 8:15, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. I opened it. Natalie stood there, dressed up like she was heading to an upscale nightclub. Full makeup, tight dress, high heels, completely overdressed for what was obviously a casual party. "What are you doing here?" I asked directly. "I need to talk to you." Her voice was shaky but determined. "Please, you weren't invited to this. I know that, but I had to see you one more time." I had to try again. People inside were starting to notice something was happening at the door. The conversations got noticeably quieter. Kingston appeared behind me, arms crossed protectively. "Please," Natalie said desperately. "Just give me 5 minutes to explain." I stepped outside onto the porch and closed the door firmly behind me, leaving everyone inside. "You have 2 minutes. I made a mistake, a huge, terrible mistake. I've spent the past 2 weeks realizing that you were genuinely the best thing in my entire life, and I threw it away just for attention and drama." She reached for my hand. I pulled back immediately. "You're here because Cameron didn't work out the way you planned, and because you're in serious debt to your parents, not because you actually want me back for real." "That's not true at all." "It's completely true, Natalie. You planned that brunch specifically to humiliate me in public. It backfired spectacularly. Now you want to somehow undo it all, but you can't undo showing everyone exactly who you really are as a person." Her eyes filled with tears. "So that's it? You won't even try to work things out?" "There's nothing to try or work out. You ended this relationship publicly. I moved on with my life. This party isn't about spite or revenge, Natalie. It's genuine celebration. I'm celebrating the fact that I didn't marry someone who thinks love is supposed to be a manipulative game." I opened the door. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have guests waiting inside who actually care about me." She just stood there, mascara starting to run down her face, looking at me like I was supposed to suddenly change my mind and take her back. I didn't change my mind. "Goodbye, Natalie." I walked back inside and closed the door firmly behind me. Kingston immediately handed me a fresh beer. "You good?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm good." The party continued without missing a beat. Nobody asked questions about Natalie. Nobody felt sorry for me or offered sympathy. We just kept celebrating and enjoying ourselves. Because sometimes the absolute best thing that can happen to you is someone showing their true colors before it's too late to escape. Around midnight, as people finally started heading home, Lorelai pulled me aside privately. That took real guts, turning her away in front of everyone like that. It took honesty, I corrected her. She wanted another performance. I gave her the truth instead. Best party I'd ever thrown in my entire life. And the best decision I'd ever made was walking away from someone who valued drama over basic human decency, dodged a bullet, didn't even begin to cover what had happened. 3 months later, I was sitting at a beachside bar in Costa Rica watching the sunset. The money I'd gotten from selling that engagement ring, plus everything I'd saved up for the honeymoon, bought me 2 full weeks of genuine peace and relaxation. No drama, no manipulation, no games, just beautiful ocean views and incredible food. My phone buzzed with a message. Kingston sending me a screenshot. Natalie had posted something on social media about learning hard lessons and growing from past mistakes. The comments were mixed, some supportive, others calling her out directly. I deleted the screenshot without even responding to Kingston. She wasn't my problem anymore. She wasn't my concern at all. Back home after the trip, work had promoted me to a team lead position. The extra responsibility came with significantly better pay and actual genuine respect from people who valued real competence over theatrical performances. Terrence and I grabbed lunch together twice a week now. Lorelai and Harper had become genuine friends, the kind who actually showed up when you needed them for real things. I'd been on a few dates since everything happened. Nothing serious yet, and that was completely fine with me. I wasn't rushing into anything new. The difference now was I knew exactly what I wouldn't tolerate ever again. Games, manipulative tests, public humiliation disguised as honesty. Anyone who thought relationships were supposed to be performance art could find someone else to star in their drama. One evening, a few weeks after I got back, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it completely, but something made me open it anyway. This is Natalie. I know you've blocked me everywhere possible. I just wanted to say I finally understand what I actually lost. I hope you're doing well. You deserved so much better than how I treated you. I stared at the message for a long moment, thought about responding, thought about telling her I was genuinely thriving, that the past 3 months had been better than the entire year we'd been engaged. Instead, I typed exactly one sentence. You were honest at that brunch about not loving me. I'm being honest now. That honesty was the best gift you ever gave me. Take care of yourself. Then I blocked that number too. No anger left, no bitterness, no resentment. Just a completely clean ending to a chapter that should never have been written in the first place. I finished my drink, closed my phone, and watched the rest of the sunset. Somewhere back in the city, Natalie was probably still trying to figure out where everything went wrong in her life. But that wasn't my story to worry about anymore. Mine was just beginning.